Good afternoon and welcome to a special winter emergency edition of Saving America. This is Dr. David D. Shine, Professor and Associate Dean over at the University of St. Thomas, Cameron School of Business. And as always, whatever I say is strictly my opinion, does not reflect on the university or any other business interests that I have. I am so delighted for you to join us today. We're seeing a little bit of sunlight outside and a little bit of warmth inside, which is very much appreciated as we work our way out of, frankly, an emergency situation. So let's get down to it. Let's talk about first what's in the news.
You say A, and that's your final answer?
First of all, condolences to Catherine, the wife of Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh passed away at age 70 yesterday. I was very inspired by Rush Limbaugh. I certainly make no pretense to in any way imitate the impact that he had. He basically saved talk radio 30 years ago. I did not start as a Rush Limbaugh fan, but what happened was in 1992, I ran for state representative in what was pretty much a hopeless race. I didn't know that when I signed up for it, but the particular district had been gerrymandered to the point where I had absolutely no chance of being elected, but I worked very hard at it. The party seemed to be pretty happy with me. I exceeded something called the Orvis, which is optimal Republican voting strength. And so I got some points for having done better than anybody expected, but it still was not a winning effort. In any event, Rush Limbaugh was doing his short-lived television show, and it ran in the late evening, and I happened to watch it, and the fellow had a down-to-earth humor, a self-effacing humor that was very attractive to me and apparently very attractive to many others as he became the dominant force in AM radio and a dominant force in American politics. And my parallel for that is that in my younger days, I was a huge fan of Johnny Carson, and there will never be another Johnny Carson, and there will also never be another king of talk radio like Rush Limbaugh, and of course, Johnny Carson, the king of late night television, and the current batch of losers and wackos who are on late night television put a shame to the legacy that Johnny Carson left. And unfortunately, both left and right hosts, unfortunately, are just a mere shadow of Rush Limbaugh, no pun on him intended. But I think it's important that people understand that it wasn't just all about what he said, but it was the way he said it and his self-effacing nature. And I didn't always agree with Rush Limbaugh. He was a little soft on smoking. I'm an ardent anti-smoker, and I think his early days of smoking may unfortunately have caught up with him. But it's important to understand that there have been some political negative things said about him, and I think that is a very sad commentary on where American politics had reached, that where a family has lost someone, people have lost someone that they enjoyed listening to, and many people who did not agree with Rush Limbaugh did listen to him because of the way he put things and the way he brought things on, and his interviews with his callers were often very respectful and not like some of the other television and radio hosts that we see today. So in any event, R.I.P. Rush Limbaugh, and the best to your family.
Well, the weakest link. Goodbye.
Moving on to rumors, I find an interesting situation of the liberals eating their young, so to speak, because Bill de Blasio, the current failed mayor of New York City, is going after the failed governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, and it's a pretty entertaining thing to watch. I think that de Blasio is positioning himself to run for a governor next year, and that would be my expectation. In the meantime, a wacko leftist with some name recognition, having run a pathetic attempt in the Democratic presidential primary last year, is Andrew Yang. Right now, people are saying that he's the odds-on favorite to be the new mayor, and to which I only respond, please look at his platform. I just went a few minutes ago before I went live on the Andrew Yang website for his so-called political campaign, and it is the Marxist agenda on steroids. I mean, he is to the left of Bill de Blasio. De Blasio, of course, failed because Marxist policies don't work. New York City, of course, is the city of capitalism. It is the host of Wall Street. It is the host of most of your major banks and many other major investment operations. And it has succeeded, of course, in driving away people like Rush Limbaugh, who moved to Florida, Donald Trump, who moved to Florida. Let's chase away a few of those billionaires and multimillionaires. Sure, that makes sense. That's the way to pay your bills, New York. And again, I am strongly, strongly against the stimulus plan that has been kicked about and that Biden has so strongly supported, because it contains hundreds of millions of dollars that will be wasted by cities on the East and West Coast. And it's inappropriate, it's not needed, and that is not what the United States needs for stimulus. So in any event, I do expect that Andrew Yang may be successful in the Democratic primary. What I am hopeful is that a GOP or an independent candidate will come up and win, and we can go back to a more sensible operation in New York City and get America's great city of New York back on track, because it is certainly not on track today. It is literally off the rails.
Just the facts, ma'am.
So let's move on to our third segment, just the facts. And we've got to talk about the weather. You know, they say if you can't talk about anything with somebody, you got to talk about the weather. And indeed, Texas is starting to roll out this afternoon, Thursday of the emergency winter week on February 18th, is today we're recording. And we are starting to come out. We do, most of us in Houston have power. Water is still a little weak, but we're starting to get our water back also. So we're making some progress, but part of this is to look at what happened. First of all, green energy would not have solved the situation. We had 5 consecutive days of basically no sun. We had a tiny bit of sun yesterday. We've had 3 or 4 hours today. Solar power does not work at night. It does not work unless you've got brilliant sunshine for a number of hours during the daytime. Reportedly, and there are some leftists who are claiming that this is false information, that the wind turbines in West Texas, who are thankfully on normal days producing a reasonable amount of clean energy, did freeze up. And somebody pointed out, well, they don't freeze up in Ontario. My best guess, they build different turbines in different parts of the country, and maybe they better make a better investment in turbines here so that they don't freeze up in the future. But the underlying cause of the crash was poor planning. Most of the Texas plants, like any operating machinery, and I came out of the oil patch, the refineries go down periodically. They're called turnarounds, and they take the machinery apart, clean it, put it back together. In Texas, because our peak energy demand is in the summertime for air conditioning, they take the plants down in the wintertime. Normally that would be adequate to limp along in the wintertime, but it wasn't this time. And there certainly needs to be a investigation into what happened, how it happens, and how we can do better in the future. But the operating organization is ERCOT, and I think ERCOT needs to be thoroughly investigated and updated. But a number of gas-fired plants, which is a significant source of energy, especially when wind and other sources go down, did not come about because the plants weren't properly winterized. Apparently, there are about 600 power plants in Texas. They only check 100 a year for actual winterization. Obviously, we've got to do better homework to make sure that we do not have a repeat of this dangerous situation. Sadly, and I'm sure many of you have seen this in the news, I've heard that the Texas winter emergency has been reported in the news as far away as Ireland. Thank you to my family and friends in Ireland for that coverage. And we do need to do a whole lot better job at watching things, because we did have people who got in their cars, did not open the garage door, and suffocated due to carbon monoxide poisoning. A great tragedy. Every life lost due to these sad circumstances is a life that should not have been lost under these great circumstances, under such a wealthy country as the United States. So I certainly hope that we are going to do a better job. And I again want to emphasize that this is not an issue of Republican versus Democrat. The local cities are controlled by the Democrats, the larger cities in Texas. The state is controlled by the GOP at the moment. And so the state and the localities both have significant responsibility in what happened. And I don't want to see a politicization of this sad circumstance. I want to see it fixed. And I want to see anybody of any political persuasion to get their acts together collectively and get the job done the right way. And so with that, this has been Saving America for Winter Emergency Week. As you can see, instead of a tie, I'm wearing a sweater. So I'm dressed up, but we're still going for it. And again, this is Dr. David D. Shine, author of Decline of America, 100 Years of Leadership Failures. And watch for some new books and articles from me. And as always, we appreciate your following us on social media. Take care and stay warm if you're down here in the South.